Non-current assets held for sale in discontinued operation. Non-current asset is an asset that does not meet the definition of a current asset. So yung non-current assets are assets whose value will not be realized within a period of 1 year since they are not easily converted into cash. An example nito is like investments, intellectual property, real estate, and equipment. Non-current assets within the scope of PFRS 5. A. Property, plant, and equipment, in short PPE, are a company's physical or tangible long-term asset that typically have a life of more than 1 year. PPE, also called fixed asset, meaning they are physical assets that a company cannot easily sell. Next, investment property measured under the cost model. Under the cost model, investment property is measured at cost less accumulated depreciation in any accumulated impairment losses. Fair value is disclosed. Gains and losses are disposal are recognized in profit or loss. Investment in associate, subsidiary, or joint venture. The investment in an entity in which the investor has significant influence but does not have a full control, like a parent or subsidiary relationship. Intangible asset. Intangible asset like copyright, franchise, goodwill, trademarks, etc. Next, non-current assets outside the scope of PFRS 5. Deferred tax assets. Assets arising from employees' benefits. Financial assets within the scope of PFRS 9. Financial instrument. Investment property measured under the fair value method. Biological assets. Contractual rights under insurance contracts. So yung non-current assets outside the scope of PFRS 5 naman is in common sense hindi siya kasama sa PFRS 5 pero non-current asset siya. Classification as held for sale. A non-current asset or disposal group is classified as held for sale if its carrying amount will be recovered principally through a sale transaction rather than through continuous one. Assets or disposal group held for sale are not depreciated, are measured at the lower of carrying amount and fair value less cost to sale, and are presented separately in the statement of financial position. Para makapasok ka sa classification as held for sale, ito yung ilang mga classification na kailangan. Management is committed to a plan to sell. The asset is available for immediate sale. An active program to locate a buyer is initiated. The sale is highly probable within 12 months of classification as held for sale. The asset is being actively marketed for sale at a sale price reasonable in relation to its fair value. Conditions for classification as held for sale. A non-current asset or a disposal group is classified as held for sale if both of the following conditions are met. A. Available for immediate sale in its present condition. B. The sale is highly probable. The condition for a non-current asset or disposal group to be classified as held for sale are as follows. The assets must be available for immediate sale in the present condition and it must be highly probable. The asset must be currently marketed actively at a price that is reasonable in relation to its current fair value. The sale should be completed or expected to be so within a year from the date of the classification, and the action required to be completed, the planned sale will have been made, and it's unlikely that the plan will significantly change or withdrawn. Availability for immediate sale in present condition. ABC Co. is committed to plan to sell its headquarters building. It has initiated action to locate a buyer. Case number 1. ABC Co. has an intention to transfer ownership of a building to a buyer after it vacates the building. Case number 1. The building will be classified as non-current asset held for sale. The criteria will be met at the plan commitment date since the time to vacate is necessary, usual and customary for sales. High probable sale. ABC Co. is a commercial leasing and finance company. As of year-end, ABC holds equipment that is available either for sale or lease. ABC is not decided whether to sell or to lease the equipment. The equipment is not classified as non-current asset held for sale because the criterion for highly probable sale is not met as the ultimate form of the future transaction as yet determined. Exemption to the 1-year requirement. An asset or disposal group that is not sold within 1 year from the date of its classification as held for sale is reclassified back to its previous classification. However, the asset is continued to be classified as held for sale if the following conditions are met. The delay is caused by events beyond the entity control, and there is sufficient evidence that the entity remains committed on selling the asset. Illustration: an entity in the power generating industry is committed to a plan to sell a disposal group that is represent a significant portion of its regulated operation. The sale requires regulatory approval, which could extend the period required to complete the sale beyond 1 year. Actions necessary to obtain that approval cannot be initiated until after a buyer is known and a firm purchase commitment is obtained. However, a firm purchase commitment is highly probable within 1 year. So, the property will still be classified as held for sale. The condition for an exception to the 1-year requirement are met. So, nagtutugma sila. Exclusive view of subsequent disposal. A non-current asset or disposal group is acquired exclusively with a view to its subsequent disposal is classified as held for sale at the acquisition date. The exclusive view of subsequent disposal ay classified kung yung sale within 1 year ay nangyari at kung ibang requirements magagawa o mabibigay agad after mabili ng isang non-current asset. Event after the reporting period. A non-current asset or disposal group that meets the criteria for classification as held for sale only after the reporting period is not classified as held for sale in the current period financial statement. Kapag lumagpas na sa reporting period yung pinagtitingin ng criteria for classification as held for sale, magiging hindi na-classified yun. Meaning, the event is treated as a non-adjusting event after the reporting period. Property dividends. Non-current assets or disposal groups declared as property dividends are classified as held for distribution to owners when they are available for immediate distribution in their present condition and the distribution is highly probable. Next, non-current assets that are to be abandoned. A non-current assets or disposal group that is to be abandoned is not classified as held for sale kasi its carry amount will be recovered through continuing use rather than principally through sale. Non-current assets to be abandoned include that those are to be used to the end of their economic life or are to be closed rather than sold. Non-current assets that are temporarily taken out of use are not treated as if they have been abandoned.
Let's proceed to the measurement. Held for sale assets and disposal groups are initially and subsequently measured at the lower carrying amount and fair value less cost to sell. Ang ibig sabihin ng fair value, it is the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer a liability in an orderly transaction between market participants at the measurement date. Ang ibig sabihin naman ng cost to sell, ito yung mga incremental cost directly attributable to the disposal of an asset or disposal group, excluding finance costs and income tax expense. Subsequent changes in fair value less cost to sell are recognized in profit or loss as impairment losses or gains on reversal of impairment. However, yung mga gains sa reversal of impairment is recognized only to the extent of cumulative impairment losses that have previously been recognized. Pagdating sa depreciation and amortization, held for sale assets are not depreciated or amortized while they are classified as held for sale. However, yung mga interest and other related expenses attributable to financial instrument included in a disposal group are continued to be recognized. Let's have an illustration. On December 31, 2021, ABC Company classified its building with a historical cost of 1 million and accumulated depreciation of 600,000 as held for sale. All of the criteria under PFRS 5 are complied with. On that date, the land has a fair value of 350,000 and cost to sell of 20,000. So yung computation nito is historical cost 1 million, tanggalin mo muna yung accumulated depreciation niya na 600,000. So meron siyang carrying amount as of December 31, 2021 na 400,000. Para makuha yung fair value less cost to sell, yung fair value na 350,000, i-deduct mo yung cost to sell na 20,000 which is nasa given yan, makukuha mo yung answer na 330,000. So the entry to record the correct classification is debit building held for sale 330,000, accumulated depreciation 600,000, impairment loss 70,000, credit building 1 million. So yung 70,000 is yun yung 400,000 minus 330,000. The building held for sale is valued at fair value less cost to sell because it is lower than the carrying amount. The difference of 70,000 is charged to impairment loss. So tuloy natin yung given. The building was not sold in 2022. However, the exception to the 1-year requirement was met. On December 31, 2022, the fair value less cost to sell of building is 310,000. So madaling salita, bumaba siya ng 20,000 from 330,000 naging 310,000. So, magkakaroon ulit tayo ng entry to record the remeasurement. Magde-debit ka ng impairment loss na 20,000 and magkikredit ka ng building held for sale na 20,000 din. Papansin nyo, yung building is hindi dinidepreciate na dahil ito ay classified na as held for sale. So, dito naman tayo sa reversal of impairment. The building was not sold in 2023. However, the exception to the 1-year requirement was still met. On December 31, 2023, the fair value less cost to sell of building increased to 420,000. So, tumaas siya. From 310,000 naging 420,000. So, the gain on reversal of impairment is to be recognized. So, yung total ng impairment loss sa nagdaang 2 taon na 2021 and 2022, which is 70,000 and 20,000, ang total niya is 90,000. So, ang total recovery is 110,000 dahil yung 420,000 is ima-minus lang natin yung previous na fair value less cost to sell ng building na 310,000. Record lang natin sa remeasurement ng gain on reversal of impairment loss is 90,000. So, debit building held for sale 90,000 and credit gain on reversal of impairment loss 90,000. So, notice that the gain on reversal of impairment is recognized only to the extent of cumulative impairment losses that have previously been recognized. Disposal group are a group of assets. So, halimbawa nito is yung inventories or equipment. The impairment loss for disposal group reduces the carrying amount of the non-current assets in the group that are within the scope of the measurement requirement of PFRS 5 in the following order of allocation. First is any goodwill allocated to the group and other assets of the group pro rata on the basis of the carrying amount for each asset in the unit. So, let's have an example. On December 31, 2021, ABC Company plans to dispose of a group of its assets. Information on this asset is shown. So, ito yung mga inventory, investment in equity securities, investment property, PPE, and goodwill. So, ABC Company estimates that the fair value less cost to sell of the disposal group amounts to 13 million. So, computein natin yung sagot dito. Step 1, immediately before classifying the disposal group as held for sale, ABC shall recognize an impairment loss of 1,100,000. So, paano kinumpute yun? So, pinag-minus lang natin yung carrying amount as remeasured immediately before classification as held for sale dun sa carrying amount on December 31, 2021 before classification as held for sale. And then, makukuha natin yung impairment loss before measurement na 1,100,000. Sa step 2 naman, since a disposal group classified as held for sale is measured at the lower of its carrying amount and fair value less cost to sale, ABC shall further recognize an impairment loss of 1,100,000 when the group is initially classified as held for sale. So, ito yung fair value less cost to sell na 13 million. Tapos, deduct natin yung carrying amount as remeasured immediately before classification as held for sale na 14,900,000. Makukuha natin yung additional impairment loss on initial classification na 1,900,000. The impairment loss is allocated first to goodwill and the excess to the other assets which are within the scope of past 36. Bale, yung impairment loss na 1.9 million, mag-allocate tayo sa goodwill which is 1.5 million. So, yung excess nun is 400,000. The excess is allocated to the other assets pro rata based on their carrying amount as follows. So, mapapansin nyo, wala tayong nilagay sa inventory and investment in equity instruments kasi the impairment loss is allocated to non-current assets to which the measurement requirements of PFRS 5 are applicable. Therefore, no impairment loss is allocated to inventory and investments in equity instruments. Unahin natin yung sa investment property. Para may allocate natin yan, yung 400,000 is i-times natin siya sa 5.7 million over 9.7 million na total ng carrying amount. And makukuha natin yung 235,052 pesos. And then dito sa PPE is ganun din. 400,000 times 4 million over 9.7 million, makukuha natin is 164,948. So, in total, 400,000, which is yun yung inallocate natin. And then, the carrying amounts after allocation of impairment loss are inventory 2,200,000, investment in equity instruments 1,500,000, investment property 5,464,948, PPE is 3,835,948, 2052. So, in total, 13 million. Discontinued operation is a component of an entity that either has been disposed of or is classified as held for sale. It represents a major line of business or geographical area of operations. Pwede ring it is a part of single coordinated plan to dispose of a separate major line of business or geographical area of operations, or is a subsidiary acquired exclusively with a view to resale. So, a component of an entity can be a cash generating unit or group of CGUs. An operating segment, a reporting unit, a geographical area of operations, a subsidiary, or an asset group. So, CGU is the smallest identifiable group of assets that generates cash inflows that are largely independent of the cash inflows from other assets of group of assets. Let's have an illustration. ABC Company manufactures and sells consumer products. It has several product groups, each with different product lines and brands. So, ang analysis natin dito is, for ABC Company, a product group is the lowest level at which it can clearly distinguish the operations and cash flows from the rest of the company's operation. Therefore, each product group is a component of the company. If a component is disposed of, ABC will classify it as a discontinued operation. Costs or adjustments directly associated with the decision to dispose a component should be recognized and shown as part of discontinued operations. So, examples nito is items as severance pay or employee termination costs, additional pension costs, employee relocation expenses, and future rentals on long-term leases. And future operating losses from normal operations should not be recognized. Only losses and expenses that result from present obligations are recognized. Meron tayo ditong illustration. On December 31, 2021, ABC Company entered into an agreement to sell a component. On that date, ABC estimated the gain from the disposal to be made in 2022 at 500,000 and the operating losses prior to the date of sale to be 300,000. As a result of the date of the sale, the component's operations and cash flows will be eliminated from the entity's operations and the entity will not have any significant continuing post-sale involvement in the component's operations. Accordingly, the component was classified as held for sale and discontinued operations. The component's actual operating losses in 2021 and 2022 were 700,000 and 650,000 respectively, and the actual gain on disposal of the component in 2022 was 400,000. ABC's income tax rate is 30%. Any income tax benefit is expected to be realizable. There were no other temporary differences during the year. So, what single post-tax amount should be reported for discontinued operations in ABC's comparative 2022 and 2021 income statements? So, ang solution natin dyan is yung actual operating losses ng 2022 and 2021 na 650,000 and 700,000. Tapos sa 2022 is merong 400,000 na gain. So, ide-deduct natin yan. Ang magiging total nila each is 2022, 250,000, 2021, 700,000. And then, multiply natin siya sa 1 minus tax rate. So, yung tax rate nila is 30,000. So, parang i-multiply na lang natin siya sa 70% para makuha na natin agad yung loss from discontinued operations. So, 250,000 times 70% is 175,000 and 700,000 times 70% is 490,000. And if mapapansin nyo, yung parehas na estimated operating losses and estimated gain on disposal are disregarded.
Prospective application. Kung ang isang parte ng kumpanya ay naging qualified as discontinued operations sa loob ng taon na iyon, ang lahat ng results of operations kagaya ng mga financial statements bago at pagkatapos ng araw kung kailan ito na-classify ay dapat na ma-classify din bilang discontinued operation. Ang mga financial statements ng nakaraang taon ay mare-restate upang ang mga impormasyon na ipinakita ay may uugnay sa lahat ng operasyon na na-classify as discontinued operation sa ngayong panahon kung kailan magkakaroon ng bagong report. Upang mas lalo itong maunawaan, ito ang isang halimbawa kung paano ginagamit ang retrospective application sa classification ng discontinued operation para sa nakaraan at kasalukuyang reporting period. Ngayong 2022 na classified o natukoy ng Los Pollos Hermanos na ang parte ng kanilang operasyon ay naging discontinued operations. Noong 2021, ang parte ng operasyon ay kasalukuyang naka-classify bilang continued operations dahil hindi pa naman ito yung panahon kung kailan nakapag-desisyon na hihinto ang operasyon. Base sa kaso ng Los Pollos Hermanos, ang accounting treatment para dito ay kung ang Los Pollos Hermanos ay ipepresenta ang mga financial statement noong 2021 bilang comparative information o may pagkumpara ito sa impormasyon sa financial statement ng kasalukuyang taon 2022, ang mga financial statements noong 2021 ay dapat na ma-restate upang maging maayos ang pagkukumpara sa Statement of Profit or Loss and Other Comprehensive Income ngayong 2022. Kasunod nito, ang mga revenues, cost of goods sold, at mga operating expenses kasama ang income taxes para sa taong 2022, kung kailan ito naging discontinued component, at pati na rin ang mga revenues, cost of goods sold, at operating expenses noong 2021, kung kailan hindi pa ito discontinued operations ay tatanggalin at irerepresenta bilang single amount kagaya na lamang ng loss for the period from discontinued operations. Now let's proceed to presentation in the Statement of Financial Position. Ang mga non-current assets na na-classified as held for sale ay ipepresenta sa Statement of Financial Position bilang current assets. Tandaan natin na ang mga current assets ay walang depreciation sapagkat ito ay short term at inaasahan na madali itong maliliquidate. Ang halimbawa nito ay accounts receivable at inventory. Ang mga assets at liabilities ng isang disposal group ay dapat na ipresenta na makahiwalay sa balance sheet. Ang offsetting ay bawat. Ang isa sa pinaka-common na offset account for asset ay ang accumulated depreciation. Sa madaling salita, ito ay ang mga contra accounts. And now let's discuss cessation of classification as discontinued operations. Kung ang isang component o parte ng kumpanya ay huminto o hindi na makaklassified bilang isang discontinued operation sa kasalukuyang taon, ang mga financial statements noong nakaraang taon ay ma-restate. Kung gayon, ang mga disclosures na ginawa upang ma-restate ang financial statements noong nakaraang taon dahil ito ay classified as discontinued operations ay dapat na ma-restate at ma-classified muli bilang continuing operations. Upang mas lalo itong maunawaan, ito ang isang halimbawa. Noong 2021, ang Saul Goodman and Associates ay na-classified ang isang component o parte ng kanilang operasyon bilang discontinued operation. Ngunit ngayong 2022, nagbago ang desisyon nila na huwag na ibenta ito at sa halip ay ipagpatuloy ang operasyon na napagdesisyon ng ihinto noong 2021. Ang component ay hindi na pwedeng ma-classified bilang discontinued operations ngayong taon 2022. Ang accounting treatment para dito ay ang mga resulta ng operasyon mula sa component noong 2022 ay ipepresenta bilang continuing operations at ang mga resulta naman noong nakaraang taon 2021 kagaya ng financial statements ay dapat na ma-restate upang maipresenta muli ang mga resulta nito bilang parte ng continuing operations at upang maipagkumpara ito sa mga resulta ng kasalukuyang taon 2022. At ang naging epekto nito ay parehas na mairepresenta bilang continuing operations sa mga resulta ng operasyon noong 2021 at 2022. Sa madaling salita, ang cessation of classification para sa discontinued operation ay accounted sa pamamagitan ng retrospective application. Always remember, retrospective application. Habang ang cessation of classification para sa held for sale ng mga non-current assets, disposal groups o mga major lines ng isang kumpanya ay accounted sa pamamagitan ng prospective application, looking forward. On the other hand, retrospective application is going back. However, bilang isang exception to the general rule ng Philippine Accounting Standard 28.15, sinasaad dito na kung ang isang investment in associate ay classified as held for sale noong nakaraang taon ay hindi na maaaring maklasify dahil hindi nito na-meet ang criteria para maklasify as held for sale. Accounted dapat ito sa pamamagitan ng equity method bilang held for sale simula noong araw kung kailan ito ay naklasify as held for sale. Ang mga financial statements para sa accounting period kung kailan ito na classify as held for sale ay dapat na amended accordingly. Ang isa sa halimbawa ng method kung paano ito maaamyendahan ay ang retrospective application. Halimbawa, noong 2021, ang isang building na kasama sa property, plant and equipment ng Ice Station Zebra ay hindi na classified bilang non-current asset held for sale. Pero ngayong 2022, nagbago ang desisyon ng Ice Station Zebra sa plano nitong pagbibenta ng kanilang building. Ang building ay hindi na pwedeng maklasify bilang non-current asset held for sale. Ang accounting treatment para dito ay, ang building ay mare-reclassified muli bilang parte ng property, plant and equipment sa financial statements ngayong taon 2022. Pero ang financial statements noong 2021 ay hindi dapat mabago o ma-restate. Ang building ay dapat pa rin na maklasify bilang non-current asset held for sale sa 2021 comparative financial statements. Now let's proceed to presenting a discontinued operation that has been abandoned. Sinasaad sa PFRS 5 na bawal maklasify ang isang asset bilang held for sale kung ito ay abandoned. Pero kung ang assets ay magiging abandoned ay parte ng major line of business o geographical area of operation, ang mga ito ay ire-report bilang discontinued operations at the date of which they are abandoned. To illustrate this, here is an example. Noong October 2021, ang kumpanya ay nagdesisyon na abandonahin ang lahat ng cotton mills nito na isang parte ng major line of business. Ang lahat ng operasyon ng cotton mills ay huminto noong December 31, 2022. The analysis will be the financial statements on year ended December 31, 2021. Ang mga resulta at cash flows ng cotton mills ay treated as continuing operations. Sa financial statements naman ngayong year-end December 31, 2022, ang mga resulta ng cash flows ng cotton mills ay treated as discontinued operations at ang kumpanya ay gagawa ng required disclosure